Hey there, my name is Kelly Dale with Off the Beaded Path. Today I have an updated video for you. Back in 2013, I did a project called the Carved in Stone or the Set in Stone Pendant. Now this was a very simple intro to bead embroidery. So we have a closed Facebook page, and on this Facebook page every month we pick a different one of my projects and we all kind of work on that project together and then show our pictures of what we've done. So this month, October 2019, our project was the witch hat earrings or this specific set in stone, carved in stone pendant. So I updated the pendant a little bit, and I wanted to show you all the updated version of this pendant. It's a lot of fun. If you've never done bead embroidery, it's a really simple intro to bead embroidery. Now, in this project, you're gonna need a few things, and it's really nice because a lot of this stuff you probably have in your stash. So the first thing you're gonna need is an 18 by 13 millimeter oval cabochon, and it needs to have a flat back. One of the things that you're probably not going to have in your stash, which I used, are 4 of the SS34 Swarovski flatback stones. Now, I do sell those on my website, and we have lots of colors of those. I also used a size 8 seed bead, only about 1 gram. A size 15 seed bead, you can use 1 or 2 colors. Either way, you're only going to need about 1 gram of each color. And then some size 11 seed beads. And for the size 11s, I might use about 2 grams. I'm going to be using 2 different glues in this video. I'm going to be using an E6000 glue and the Zap Gel Glue. If you don't have the Zap Gel Glue, you can use the E6000 glue for what I'm going to use the gel glue for, so it's completely fine. You're also going to need some beading foundation and some Ultra Suede. I'm going to be using my size 12 beading needle because you're going to be going through some of your size 15 seed beads several times. And I'm going to be using DuraThread. If you don't have any DuraThread, you can use 1G or you can use Fireline, whatever you're comfortable with. I just like the DuraThread the best when I am doing bead embroidery now. So let's go ahead and get our stuff together and we'll get started. Okay, so this is the original pendant that I made back in 2013. It is real, like I said, it's really simple to make. Our 8s are here around the oval, and our 11s are on the sides, and the 15s are here and here. So when I updated the pattern a little bit and I started playing with it some more, I actually wanted to give it another row of the 11s here at the top and the bottom, just because I think it added something to the project, and I really like that. So I wanted to do a little updated video to show you how I did that. And originally it was a pendant. I liked it so much this way that I actually made these into earrings for myself. So this is actually a pair of earrings that I made, and I'm making me another pair in today's video. Now this stone, I'll have to put a link to the stone. I actually got this from firemountaingems.com. They were a pretty expensive cabochon, so unless you're going to make something, you know, kind of special for yourself, you know, I don't know if you would want to use one that expensive, but this is what I'm going to be using in the video today. Now, when we updated our kits, we did some fun new kit colors. So this is the hematite. It has the crystal AB with nickel, and the 8 here is shark skin. The purple here has turquoise and purple and like a suede blue color, so it's a fun one. This was one that I just kind of played with to see if it would work. This is a Luna Cab. This is an oval Luna Cab, and we've got these on our website. Plus we have some of these, I think, in our clearance section that they have stopped making now. But this is one, and then this was a fun one. I just did this one as a kind of ode to Halloween, and you can see it's the exact same thing. I just flipped it around and put a little loop here at the top and hung a tassel at the bottom to make a fun pendant. So these are just some of the samples of what we are going to see made today. Okay, so I have gone ahead to save a little bit of time, and I have glued my cabochon onto my piece of foundation. Now my foundation, you'll want to cut yours to 2 by 2.5, and you can mark your pieces to help you center this if you would like. So I've threaded my needle with about 2 yards of my Dura thread, and I'm going to put a knot in the very end of the thread. There we go. And you can either cut this or you can hit it with your thread zapper and kind of burn the end of it there, so it will make a little ball on the end of your thread like I've done. Now I'm going to come up through the foundation right next to my cabochon here, and I'm going to pull the thread all the way through. So to start out, I'm going to pick up 2 of my size 8 seed beads, and I'm going to let these beads drop. Now when I let these drop, I want these beads to lay down nicely flat on against the stone, and I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to go through the foundation right past the second bead here that I threaded on. And I'm going to pull this through. Now I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to come up through the foundation right before the first bead that I added and right next to my cabochon. And I'm going to bring the thread all the way through and then go through the 2 beads here that I just added. Whoop! This will get me into position to add my next 2 beads. And I got my thread caught here, so let me get that untangled. There we go. Okay, so my 2 beads are in place. Now I'm going to pick up 2 more beads and I'm going to let those 2 beads fall. We want them to go all the way up against the cab and down next to the beads we just added. I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to go down through the foundation right past the second bead that I just added. I'm going to pull that thread all the way through. Now I'm going to count back 3 beads. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to come up through the foundation right before the 3rd bead that I counted back to. Pull that, and now I'm going to go through the 3 beads that I just counted back. Okay, so right now this first bead right here that I added is sitting a little sideways. That's okay because it will straighten up when we come around. So I'm basically going to continue just picking up 2 beads, letting these 2 beads fall, go down through the foundation right past those 2 beads, and then count back 3. 1, 2, 3. Come up through the foundation right before that 3rd bead there, and then go through the 3 beads. So now I'm going to continue to work around my stone using these size 8 seed beads. Alright, so I've gone all the way around and I have a little bit of space left here. So I put 2 beads on my thread here, and it looks like I'll be able to get these 2 beads to fit good. If you put like only 1 bead on there and it fits perfectly, that's fine too. So I'm going to put my 2 beads in, and instead of going down through the foundation, I'm going to go through the first bead here that I added, and I'm going to pull that. And you see it looks like this one's going to stick out just a little. So I have 2 options here at this point. I can take 1 bead off and then check it, or I can search for possibly another bead that is either a big bead or a small bead. And I think if I just kind of work these around, the 1 bead is going to work just fine. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to come down through the foundation right after the bead that I'm coming out of. Yep, that's going to work good. So now I'm going to come up through the foundation one more time, right where I was at, and I'm going to go through this ring of size 8s one more time. I'm going to just go straight through them just to connect all of them together and to hold them together really well for what I want. This is not a necessary thing. I just like to do it because it kind of pulls everything nice and together for me. Okay, now I'll go down through the foundation and then I'm going to set my needle aside for just a minute. This is where at this point we want to put our flat back crystals in. So I'm going to put 3 here at the bottom and 1 here at the top. So if you had marked, if I marked the center of this one, it would make my life lots easier. But you know, sometimes we just make things hard on ourselves. Okay, so this is where my Zap Gel Glue is going to come in. And it's just because I want these to dry a little bit quicker so that I can work with them. Now I'm only going to put just a little bit of glue onto that piece and I'm going to center it at the top of my oval. Now I'm going to take and I'm going to put just a little bit of glue. You can see there just a little bit, not a lot, because especially if you're using black foundation, if you use too much of this glue, it is going to turn everything around the bead where you got too much glue. It's going to turn it white and leave a white film on it. Okay, so that one is centered good there on both sides. So now I'm just going to, again, whoop, these little things are slippery. Put a little bit and put it there next to that one. And then I want just a little bit here. Okay, you can see just a little bit. And move this one here. Now go ahead and recap your glue real quick. You don't want that stuff to dry out. And I'm going to hold these in place for just a moment. And then I'm going to be working with my size 15 seed beads. Okay, so once they dry, this is what your piece will look like, and we're going to be working with our 15s. So for mine, I'm using the rose gold 15 just because I wanted it to kind of bring out some of that gold that's in my stone. So you can see where I've got the rose gold. It's here and here. So I'm going to go ahead and get those 15s and then we'll get started with our next step. All right. So I'm going to take my needle. It doesn't matter if I start here or here. I just maybe want to start close to where my thread is exiting, so it's down here. So I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to come up through the foundation right near my 8s and very close to my first crystal there. Okay, and pull that on through. Now, just like we added these 8s, we're going to be adding the 15s in the same way. So I've got 2 of my 15s. I'm going to let these 15s drop all the way down. I want to push them close up against the 8s and my flat back here. And then I'm going to go down through the foundation right after that second bead that I added. And I'm going to pull this thread through. I'm going to come up through the foundation again right before the first bead that I added. And then I'm going to go through those 2 beads. Now, I like to do this 2 different ways. Number one, you can hold your finger there and pull it tight. Number two is this is where like the tulip awl will come in handy for you, because you can actually put the awl right at your bead and pull the thread straight the way it's coming out of the bead, and that will help you get those beads really nice and tight and fluid up against your piece. So now I'm going to pick up two more. We let these beads fall, and you see they lay right next to the last ones there. And we come down through the foundation right after the second bead that I just added. And again, I want it close to my crystal. I'm going to go down through the foundation. So that it looks just like this. Now, again, I'm going to count back 3 beads. So 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to come up through the foundation right before the 3rd bead. So since I've just added 4 beads, I'll basically be bringing the needle up between beads 1 and 2. And now I'm going to go through beads 2, 3, and 4. And again, I can hold my finger on it and pull the needle straight, or I can put my awl here and kind of hold it and pull, and that will get it nice and looking good there for me. I'm going to keep on working. So we want 2 more. Again, I'm going to go down through the foundation right after the 2nd bead. Pull this all the way through. Count back 3 beads. So I'm going to count back 1, 2, 3. And so my needle is going to come up right there in front of that 3rd bead. So it's going through our 3 beads here. Okay, so I'm going to put a few more, I'm going to continue to work and put a few more till I get right here, because I want to show you what to do once you get to these corners. Okay, so I am here at the top, or near this little joint here, and when I put my 2 beads in, it looks like I might could get 1 more bead in that little joint. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick up 1 more bead. And I'm going to go down through the foundation right there in between those 2 crystals. Right there where they meet each other. And I'm going to pull the thread on through. Now, you can see here that this little bead pokes out. So that tells me that that 1 bead that I added was too much extra. So I'm just going to put my awl in here. Oh, I hadn't had my coffee, enough of my coffee yet. Oh, okay, there we go. Put that all in there. I'm going to pull, there we go. Pull it through. I'm going to bust that bead so that now when I pull that thread, you see how it nicely lays perfectly around just like I want it to. So now instead of coming back up and going through those 3 again, I'm just going to take the needle and I'm going to come up right there between that joint again, right there where I was. And I'm going to continue my sets of 2. So I will pick up the 2. And this time, you can see I'm kind of holding it up this way. And I want to bring it down like this because I want it to meet and start going around this bead. So then I'll go down through the foundation right after those 2 beads. There we go. And then come up through the foundation before the 1st bead that I just added. And then I will go through those 2 beads. And again, you can either put your finger on there and pull, or you can lay your awl down and pull that so it gets there for you. So now I'm going to continue and I'm going to come all the way around these 2, and then I'm going to take my thread and I'm going to come up here and come around this bead. Now your thread, it will come up, you will see your thread go on the back just like this, and that's okay because we're going to cover up the whole back, so there's no need to worry. So go ahead and we're going to finish this, and I'm going to put them here around the top. Alright, so before I start working up here, I wanted you to see, if you look here and here, you will see that there's a little space. Now, I don't like to see that space there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to come up through the foundation right there at that space. I'm going to pick up 1/15 and I'm going to go down through the space. That way it pops one little bead in there and it stops me from having just an open little space versus something with a bead in it. So then I'll do the same thing again over here. To me, this is the hard part because you're just kind of blindly poking to get where you need to go. There. Here we go. So come up through the foundation, pick up your one bead, and then go down through the foundation again, and that will pop that bead into place for you so that now those holes are covered. So now I will come up here to the top, and again you can see I'm coming right here near the 8s and the stone, and I'll work my round of 15s here. You can see I've got my thread here across the back, and that's fine because it's going to be covered up. So now continue to add these 15s. So the next thing we're ready to do on our pendant is we're ready to add another, or our next layer of beads. So I'm going to be adding this row of purple here to the inside. You can use two colors, like I've used the purple and the aqua. And you can see here in this sample where I've used the pink and the lime green. So you can use two colors, or if you prefer, you can use one color. So like here on this hematite color, I've used the nickel on both rows. So it's completely up to you and what you like. I've just decided that on this specific one, I want to put that row of purple in there. So I just finished coming around with my 15s. So I'm going to bring my needle right up through the foundation, right here at the 15s and the size 8 seed beads here. And I'm going to bring this up through. Now, just like we added the 8s and the 15s, we're going to add the 11s. So 2 beads, and I'm going to flip it around this way since I'm going to kind of work in this direction. So I put my 2 beads on. I want them close to these 8s here. So I'm going to go down through the foundation right after that second bead. Then come up through the foundation again right before the first bead that you're adding. And then through the 2 beads. Then I'll pick up 2 more, let these drop down. Okay. Go down through the foundation right after the second bead. Count back 3 and come up through the foundation right before the third bead, and then through the 3. So I'm going to continue to work this row of purple, and then when I get done with this row of purple, I'm going to come right next to it and add this row of green. Okay, just from here to here. Don't try to add them up here yet. Just add them, add your purple row and this row. And then when we get that done, we're going to jump over and do this side. Alright, so you can see now I have my second row of green added. And so now I'm just going to come around to the other side. I will bring the needle up near the 8 and my 15s. And then I will start to add this same purple and teal or green, whatever color you call this. I'll add that on this side as well. Don't add it here yet, and don't try to come up and add this because you need this other side put on before you can add the top and the bottom. Okay, so once you have both side embellishments done with your 11s, now you're ready to start adding it to the top and the bottom. Now remember, in the original video, this is where I stopped. We didn't add the top or the bottom. So this will kind of give you an idea of what it would have looked like in the old version of the video. So my thread is coming up right here after my last 11 and next to my 15s. So I'm going to pick up 2 of the 11s in this outside color. I'm going to bring them down to where they meet the 11s and are next to that 15. And I will put my first 2 beads in place there. And we're going to work these beads just like all the rest of what we've done today. And I will just continue to add my 11s, curving around the top and the bottom. And so go ahead and continue to do this, and then once I have it around in the bottom, I'll be right back. Okay, so once you have the top and the bottom embellished, you are now finished with the piece itself as far as what we're going to do on the foundation. So I brought my needle through the back of the foundation, and I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to go under a thread here. I'm going to leave a little bit of a loop. And I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to stick it through that loop and pull the thread. And I'm going to do a couple of half hitch knots here, doing exactly what I just did. Now, once you're happy and you're ready to be done with your knots, then you can use your thread zapper or a nice pair of cutters, and you can get rid of that thread. At this point, what we need to do is we need to cut the piece out. So we want to take and cut your piece out. I like to kind of come around the outline of the piece and then go back and get into any of those little tight spaces that I need to get into. Now, when you do this, you want to make sure that you don't cut any of the threads on the back of your piece. So, see how I've gone around? I've not cut any of those threads, and that's what you want to make sure that you don't do. Now, once I kind of get into there, now I want to get into these tight little spaces here, and I want to get these little corners taken out. But again, I have to be careful that I don't cut any of my threads here along the back. So go ahead and trim your piece up and we'll be ready for the next step. Alright, so once you have your piece cut out, you're then ready to put it onto your Ultra Suede. So this is where I'm going to be using my E6000 glue. And I basically just want to take, and I want to put the glue here in the middle of the piece. If I put it too close to the edge, what's going to happen is when I go to put my needle through the layers to do my last embellishment with my 15s, I may not be able to get that done. So as you can see here, I've got a nice layer of my glue here on the back, and now I'm just going to place it onto the Ultra Suede. The good thing about using the E6000 glue, once we have it glued on there, is that we can immediately go ahead and start trimming around the edge of our piece. We do not have to wait on it to dry. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to start cutting around my piece just like I did with the foundation, and I'm going to get rid of the excess Ultra Suede. And this is nice because you have your foundation as the guide to go by. So go ahead and trim this off and we'll be ready for the last set of embellishments. Okay, so I've gone around, as you can see, and I've cut my Ultra Suede to match my foundation. I've threaded my needle with a new piece of thread, a little over a yard. I've gone ahead and I've put my knot here in the end of the thread. There we go. And I have hit it with a thread zapper. Now, I'm going to start here at the top, and I'm going to separate the layers here of the foundation and the Ultra Suede. And I'm going to take the needle, and from the inside I'm going to come up through the foundation here, so that way when I pull my thread, the knot, I can lay it down and sandwich it between the layers so you won't see that knot. So here we go. I'm going to pick up 2 15s, and I'm going to come through both layers, and I'm going to come through them right next to where I just went through my layers. Okay, and then I'm going to come up through this first bead again. Now, this first bead here, if it sits a little wonky, it's okay. We'll fix it when we come around. So from this point on, I'm just going to pick up 1 bead. I'm going to come through both layers, pull it through, and then come through the bead that you just added. Okay, again, pick up 1 bead. I'm going to come through both my layers here, right next to the bead I just added, and then I'm going to come through the bead just like that. So I'm going to work around the whole piece, just picking up 1 bead, coming through both of my layers, and then going through the bead just like that. Okay, once you've gone all the way around, your piece will look something like this, or it should. When you get to the top, you can see here I have the last bead added, and then I have my first bead added here. What we want to do is we need to connect these 2 beads to finish out this embellishment. So my thread is coming out of the last bead, and I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to go down through the first bead that I added. Then take your needle and go up through the last bead that you added, so that it will now connect those 2 beads together, and you are ready to add the top loop. Now your top loop, is the size of that loop is going to depend on what you want to do with it. For mine, I'm going to make these into earrings, so I'm not going to make a large loop. The second thing you have to think about when this is done is to determine what beads are centered over the top of your piece so that your loop will be centered. Sometimes this could be 3 beads, like here. I think this will be centered over these 3 beads. And sometimes it might be 4 beads, like this one here. If you can see, it has 2 beads. Yeah, 2. No, this one is a 3 too. But sometimes you might have a 4 bead one. Let me look here and see. See, this one is a 3 bead one here as well. So it just kind of depends on each one. But the bead I'm coming out of is going to be perfect to add that loop for. So I'm going to pick up 6 of these 15s. And I'm going to take my needle. I'm going to skip 1 15, and I'm going to go down through the next 15. And when I pull this down through here, I will be able to look at that loop and see if it's centered the way that I want it to be. And I think that's pretty well centered on that. So now I will simply reinforce this, and how I'm going to reinforce this is I'm going to take the needle and go through both pieces of my foundation here, so that I can come back up through the same bead that my thread was exiting. There we go. And then I'm going to go through the 6 beads again that I added here for the loop. And then once I've gone through all 6 and through the base bead again, then I'm ready to tie off my thread. So to tie off my thread, I'm going to come up through the bead right next to where my thread is exiting. And you'll see here between your beads you have basically thread bridges, little pieces of thread that connect each of those beads. So I'm going to take the needle, I'm going to go under one of those thread bridges, leave a loop, and then take my needle, go through that loop and pull the thread. Then I'll go down through the next bead and up through the next one here. I'm going to put another half hitch knot, and this time when I go down through this bead, this next one, I'm going to try to wiggle it in there to where you can see my needle there is coming out. Oh, I want to pierce it again. There we go. So I pushed it through pretty far between my layers to come out here. And now I can take my cutters, my thread zap, whatever, I can cut off that thread, and now I have my finished piece. So this is the updated carved in stone and set in stone pendant.